What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode with Ski and Rob. We are going to touch a little bit of March Madness, but we want to know what games you guys want to talk about. So if you have the questions or any games, just shoot them in the chat. We'll do our best to help answer. And there is one that I'll start it off with that I played myself, but we know Rob has the wealth of college information. And I have to mention, yesterday I went 5-3 overall. We talked about a lot of good things, but the plays I chose as my best bets did not win. So it didn't end up being a good day. How was yesterday for you, Rob?
Yesterday was a split in college, and we fell just a shade short in that Fairleigh Dickinson TSU total. Had 147, only got to 145, and boy, we were begging for a basket the last minute and a half. Just couldn't get it out of the backups. Did come back and win the first half on Arizona State, first half -1. And in NBA, I had a big prop on Joel Embiid to go over points and rebound. I know we talked about Joel yesterday, but I had a equaling out loss, and I'm trying to remember which one the loss was. You know what it was? The Lakers over. We talked about that. The Lakers just didn't. They scored a lot in the fourth, but by the fourth, it was a little too late to get us up and over the 230 that we needed.
Yeah, I was like, where was this offense when I bet the under previously? They were shooting lights out. I wish I had that offense, but it is what it is. We move on to today. Like I said, we'll touch a little bit of March Madness. Only if you guys want to talk about games. We don't want to just sit here and talk about games you guys don't want to hear about. A game that I did have action on that I do want to mention here and see what Rob thinks about my take here. And really not so much my take, just gathering information from other people that I trust and that I see. We're looking at Colgate versus Texas, 13.5, total of 150. And I saw our good friend Jeff Michaels, son of Ralph Michaels, tweeted out. He said underdogs of 6.5 plus in tournament games versus non-conference opponents off 3 straight double-digit wins. They're 17-2 against the spread since 2010. That says to play Colgate plus the 13.5 points today. Says it might be a little bit too much. So I was looking at that, and then excuse me here. Other than that, I know the Texas are 4-6 whenever they're not playing at home. So I was thinking, it should be a neutral site here. Maybe they will struggle. And I feel like I didn't follow this Colgate team too close, but I saw they're a really great three-point shooting team. I want to say the best in the nation. And if they're hitting those shots, probably much like FDU, they can run away with the game, or they can get this, not run away with it, but they can keep it respectable and stay within the margin. So I chose Colgate plus 13.5 as my college play for today. How do you feel about that play, Rob?
All right, so we're on the same game, different takes. I played first half over. Colgate, they're not new to this. Matt Lengel's done a great job as head coach since he got there, but they were here. I'm trying to think, a couple of years back, I think, against Arkansas. Again, not necessarily as good as Texas is this year, but Arkansas kind of the same type of team. Athletic, fast, good defensive, and took Colgate a little bit lightly right out of the gate, and Colgate lit them up with threes in the first half. Now, second half, Arkansas came back and clamped down on defense and shut them down. I think, forgetting who the head coach was at that time, but this is about a couple of years ago. And I anticipate the same thing happening, Ski. Texas comes off the Big 12 conference tournament win. They beat Kansas. A few days off, play Colgate, ho-hum. I know the coach is probably trying to drill into their heads that this is a really good basketball team, but it's kind of the players that count. Colgate shoots 51% from the field. I know you mentioned they're a good three-point shooting team, which they are, but from the field for a season to shoot over 50, that's tremendous. It's what they do. And my play is predicated on what I saw a couple of years ago that I think is going to happen again. I think Colgate will be underestimated to start the game. I think they'll make shots to start the game, and maybe Texas adjusts second half defensively. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Colgate either tied or in the lead or only down by 2 or 3 at the half because of their shooting ability. They're not much on the defensive end. But they play a little bit of pace, and I just thought the total to me looked a little bit shy. So I played first half over. I'm trying to get this number up, Ski, that I played it at, which is why I'm stalling here a little bit.
No worries. While you look for that, I wanna ask a question. Greg, let me know what you're thinking about. What you mean here? Funny how you guys go straight to something else when things get hard. Not sure what you're talking about. Let me know.
Funny you guys go to something else. 71. 71 is the first half total in this game. Game total 150.5. They played the full game total pretty hard. The money did. But I'm going to go with that basis for my play, why I played it. I just think that Colgate comes out quick. I don't know that they're that good defensively to stop Texas. So we'll go for over 71 first half.
All right. Rob likes the first half over. I'm on Colgate plus 13.5 full game. Couple different ways to look at this one to make some money. We do have a question here, and it's from Chris Clark. He says, Rob, what do you think about the over in the Arkansas game? And let me see if I can pull it up here. Don't quite see. Oh, there, Arkansas and Illinois, total of 144.5 as the opener, down to about 143.5 as a consensus. Any opinion there, Rob? And I'm gonna go have to let somebody in to fix something in my house. I'll be right back.
I'm going to say this about the Illinois-Arkansas game really quick. I've been a proponent of Arkansas games over recently because of the return of Nick Smith Jr. Now I think it's 7-8 games in with him, and Arkansas has tended to be a better offensive team. Certainly they have been a better offensive team with him in the game. He's their best player from that standpoint, and they've scored more. I think the Kentucky game was an indication of how good they can be, but they still are erratic. So as of yet, I haven't played. I don't like the Illinois team at all, really, this year, especially second half of the season. So my initial lean on this game was more toward the side than the total. I thought Arkansas probably would be a good side. I think they're trustworthy. I hate to go against Brad Underwood, head coach of Illinois, who I feel like is a really good coach, but he just hasn't gotten this team to respond, Ski. So slight leans, to answer Chris Clark really quick here, slight leans on the Arkansas side. And if I was playing total, I would lean over just because that's the way I've played Arkansas recently. Saturated. I apologize, buddy. I apologize. That's going to be a thing with me now. Don't badmouth our teams. I know KC told me not to badmouth Golden State yesterday.
Oh yeah, they'll come for you in the chat, Rob. They're always watching for the teams that they follow. Good information there. We're trying to touch on March Madness as best as we can. We had a question there. If we don't have any other questions, we'll shift over to NBA. I'm trying to do, my due diligence just because I know it's a big day for college basketball, even though I'm not the biggest college guy. So I will ask you really quick, Rob, there was one other game. I feel kind of bad just because I haven't been following UCLA as close as previous years. And I haven't seen NC Asheville at all. Big spread for UCLA. I know they're a really good team. They should be able to make it really far in the tournament. But will they be able to cover 17.5 points in this matchup?
That angle I didn't go after, but I think, Ski, I'm going to get to over in that game. 136.5. UCLA, since Jalen Clark got injured, they lose size. So what we noticed in the Pac-12 championship game without him, they went to 4-guard offense. Which with 4 guards, they're going to be a little bit quicker than they were this season, and they're going to have a little bit less defense. Even though they're still a really good defensive team. Remember the final score of that Arizona game, I think, was 61-59 for the Pac-12 title. So, but they had seen Arizona for the third time, right? They know exactly how to play them. You have to slow them down. They did a good job of it and almost won that game. But here against Asheville, out of conference, Asheville's an offensive-minded team from a smaller conference, really doesn't play. And even if you go back through their game logs, you'll find that they really didn't play a team comparable to UCLA so far this season. So again, these double-digit favorites that come off conference championship game appearances, I always feel like they treat and the highly seeded ones, I always feel like they treat the opening round game with the I'll use the word disrespect here because I can't think of a better one. think UCLA might come in a little bit like, UNC Asheville, no big deal. And it could turn into more of a up and down game because I feel like UCLA thinks they could beat UNC Asheville no matter what tempo they play at. Asheville prefers to play fast. UCLA with 4 guards may play a little faster here. And the total, really the reason why I'm looking at over is because the number is so doable. 136.5 is not hard. 75-62 gets you 137, gets you a cover. And I could see that or even more than that in this game. So I may try over Ski. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to the window with it. I just have not as of yet. And I'm going to really quickly say somebody put up Go Terps, referring to Maryland. And I know when you and I talked off air real quick yesterday, we were talking about how college games would be going on as we speak. And perhaps there'd be some in-game stuff that we could relay on to the chat room. If you've been watching from the beginning and you got onto Maryland, they were down 16-3 to start this game. And in-game went up to Maryland plus 10.5. So now you had a 2-point dog basically getting 10.5, and they were leading at halftime. These are the things you got to be looking for during this tourney, guys. We can't get to all of that in-game stuff, but as you're watching them, you have to be savvy enough to pick up on that type of stuff. Now, maybe Maryland doesn't cover. Maybe they get beat by 11 in the end. But still, when you can get a 2-point dog up to plus 10.5 in these games where runs are going to be prevalent, then you should be doing that. So congratulations to anybody who got Maryland plus 10.5 at least. I don't know if we can call that closing line value. Can we Ski plus 10?
Nah, not counting that one. But it's a good deal though. It makes me think of when I was talking to Jay Money yesterday. He said that he thought the Lakers would start off slow and you'll get a better opportunity during the game. And sure enough, I saw them as high as plus 9. They probably even got higher than that. And I'm sure that they covered that. So live betting, a lot of opportunities. I came into the industry doing a live betting show, so I'm all for that. And take advantage. If you know the sport and you're watching, there should be some opportunities to make some money. Another question here. What's up, Don Play? Appreciate you tapping in. Chris Clark is asking about the Duke and Oral Roberts game. And I'll say Oral Roberts was a real popular team as far as the tournament last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I know they've won like 17 games in a row. But they're the public dog today, in my opinion, right? I feel like I go on Twitter, I see 1,000 Oral Roberts plus 6.5, whatever it is, tickets. And public dogs, in my opinion, in this spot, that's where they go to die. So I know Duke has also been playing really good. They've won like 9 games in a row. And I feel like they've all been, or not all, but most of them have been by like kind of easy, relatively easy. So I think Duke is the right side in this game. Can you make a case for the public dog and Oral Roberts, or you think Duke cruises?
Well, a couple of things make this such a public dog, right, Ski? First of all, when the tournament selection, I've learned this year, actually, for the first time I did this, when the Sunday night selections come out, I shut the TV off because I can't take listening to every single guy tell you that every 13, 14, 15 seed is so dangerous and they're all going to make the Elite Eight and you better watch out for these guys and nobody wants to play these guys. And boy, if that were the case, nobody would want to play anybody. We wouldn't even have a tournament. But the fact that Oral Roberts is in a 12-5 game makes him even more popular, right? Everybody runs right to the 5-12, seeking out the 12 that's going to win because it's happened so often. So you get extra money on them for that. I'm going to say this. I'm on the total in this game. A lot of the same reasons that I described with Texas Colgate. Oral Roberts won't be as overlooked as Colgate might be. Oral Roberts, 4 of the 5 starters from the NCAA tournament team back this year. Max Asmus, we all know, as talented a guard as there is in the country. He could play at a lot better places than Oral Roberts. It's a really good team that added a 7'4" center, Connor Vanover, from Arkansas this year. And now they have some little bit of game at the rim as well. So they're not just a perimeter team. All that said, Duke, with their starting 5 this year, when healthy, 18-1 to your point, Ski, 18-1 when they're all healthy. So, they're healthy now. Duke's a dangerous team. I pushed them through. I don't do very many brackets. I did a couple this year, but in both I pushed Duke through a couple of rounds, maybe further, just because they're healthy and they've been that good. I think the game will get over. I think Oral Roberts can score on anybody in the nation. I think Duke can respond at this point in time when healthy. So got a cheap price, 68.5. I thought they're asking me for 35 aside. I think we can get there. So that's the way I took this one in. If it doesn't get there and it falls just short, I would probably, this is the case for both of these games I've talked about, Ski. If they fall just shy in the first half, I'd probably go ahead and play the second half over, in those two games. So that's where I'm at with those two.
That's where I was going to ask here, Rob, just because I feel like in the first game of the tournament, maybe a little bit of jitters, maybe it's more so defense in the beginning, maybe before, maybe teams go in the locker room and make some adjustments for the second half. So that kind of makes me think, and not to say every game is going to be this way, but it makes me think I would rather play first half unders and full game overs or second half overs, just because also, in the tournament, in a competitive game like this, -6, if it's a 6.5 point game at the end, this is their season on the line. They're not going to stop fouling. So you're going to get a whole lot of extra points in that second half. What do you think about what I said there? And also, does it make sense, like for what I just said with the free throws? Like if Oral Roberts is losing, they're not just going to, lay down. They're going to continue to foul. They're not going to just lose by, a couple. If they lose, it's going to be by margin, I feel like. So if you like Oral Roberts, you should take the money line. Do you agree with that too?
At this time of year, certainly money line, because, now I don't do it. I'm not a proponent of it, but I would say that there's no problem with it because these are do or die games, right? Win or go home. So if you're going to bet a dog, you probably want to have a little bit of that money spread out on the money line as well. Ski, another thing that I do differently, and I'll just say this, you probably said it, I'll say it just a shade differently. In these NCAA tournament games, NIT tournament games, I kind of call it protection. If I bet first half over, I bet full game over the same amount. So in this Texas Colgate game, I have first half and full game. In this Oral Roberts, I have first half and full game. And the only reason I use protection is just what you said. These are new arenas too. Don't forget, these guys are playing on neutral sites. They've had a practice, maybe the rims. It's not stadium, so to speak. These are basketball arenas, so the background should be pretty good. But still, they haven't played there a lot. So there's a lot of things to factor in with first half. And to your point about free throws at the end of the game, this is not the NBA where they only really foul to try and stay in a game if the spread is 4 or 5 point difference. In these games, if you're down 8 or 9 with 30 seconds left, you're still fouling down 9. So you do get extra points at the end of games here in college basketball. It would have to be a real, like we saw a couple of nights ago, I think the number gets up to like 12, 13 and teams back off. But count on a lot of free throws at the end of games here.
All right, I agree with you right there. Akbar says Oral Roberts is juiced up for this game. Is extra juiced up for this game. Duke is a much better team, though. Yeah, we'll see how this one shakes out. I like what Rob was saying. I probably would go with the full game over or Duke if I had to play it right now. There's no other question from the chat, but there's one game that I'm interested in just because it's a team that I follow, and that's going to be the Houston Cougars. If I'm not mistaken, Sasser is still out, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it opened -20. It's gone down to -18.5. Total open 121.5, and it's staying right there. I just can't help but think, Rob, that Houston, I mean, a lot of their identity is they're going to clamp you on the defensive end. And if they're missing one of their better offensive players, how do we just run to the window and bet this game under the 122, 121.5? I know it's a really low number, but I feel like Houston really has to win this game with defense. Do you agree?
And if you take the opponent into consideration, Ski, they're a slow tempo team, Northern Kentucky. They have not played high-scoring games all season long. They prefer it the way Houston does, right? Mid-60s. But they're not going to get to mid-60s against Houston. To your point, they might, you start calculating, how do I stay under 121.5? And you think to yourself, can Northern Kentucky make it to 50? Which is a legitimate thought in any Houston game. An opponent of Houston, can they get to 50? If they do, Houston needs to get to 72 to cover that, to go over on you. And that's an awful lot to ask of Houston in a really slow tempo game with limited possessions and without Marcus Sasser. So I'm with you. I thought of it this morning. Still time to get in on that game. I might, but that's the only way I would look at it is under.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to check that one out. If my Colgate is looking a little nice, I might, see what I can do with the Houston game. Question here: what do y'all think about jumping on Utah State live money line? I am not currently watching that game, but the score is 6-12 in favor of Missouri State. I'm sorry, it's in favor of Missouri, not Missouri State. So Utah was a -2 favorite for this game, -1.5 favorite. Would you agree it's a good time to jump in on the favorite, probably in a dog roll, live right now, Rob? First 6 minutes of the game, 6-14.
And I'm looking at the live line right now, Ski, and it's showing me anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5, and I don't know that that's enough yet. I would say if Mizzou hits a couple of more buckets, then you want to jump in. But, the Maryland situation was different. You've got a 2-point dog now getting 10.5. Here, you've got a 1.5-point favorite getting what looks like 4, and it looks like they're going to go to the free throw line here. So I would say if you can get a little more, if you can get in the 7.5, 8 range, I would say yes. But I think this might be too little. Again, if I can just bring up a reason why, Ski, that we just talked about, if Missouri is up 3 late in this game, they're going to the free throw line. If Missouri's up 4 late in this game, they're going to the free throw line, and their guards can shoot free throws. So, I don't know that I would get in at this price yet, but keep an eye on it. Like I said, if it makes the 7.5, 8 range, I think you might be in a better position.
Good answer to the question there. I'm looking down the schedule. I don't see this one on the schedule for today. If it's not today, is it today?
Tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, you cutting up, Josh. We got a show tomorrow too. We'll get there. Still a lot to talk about for today. Darren says he's ready to talk some NBA. We haven't talked about any NBA yet, so we'll get to Nets and Sacramento game. I guess that will be it for the college portion of this show. So I feel like we did a pretty solid job. My favorite play as far as the college is concerned is Colgate plus the 13.5. Rob gave you a lot of different looks. So if you were listening, find some ways to make some money with it. NBA. You ready for this, Rob?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ready for this. What do you got for me?
Josh said, my bad. I'm excited. I get it. March Madness. I get it for sure.
Yeah, he should be.
Otto says he's liking Northwestern, and Josh says he likes Northwestern full game under. So a lot of love for March Madness starting today, and I understand. Let's get to a little bit of NBA. First game up on the slate. We'll go 501, 502, Denver and Detroit. We're looking at Denver opening as a 12-point favorite all the way up to -15 here. Detroit, the total opened 228.5. Still sitting around there. There's a 229 at circa. Injury report. And I apologize. I should have already refreshed this. I know Murray was game time decision. And let's just see if that still holds. Yeah, Murray is still game time decision here for tonight. They'll be without, but he's likely to play. They'll be without Najee and Gillespie. For Detroit, Ivy is game time decision, but he's likely to play. Coming back from, protocol, I believe. They will be without Bagley, Bogdanovich, Alec Burks, Diallo, Livers, and Isaiah Stewart for Detroit. So a lot missing for this team here. But I just still feel like it's a lot to like in this game here, Rob. First, I have to say this. Ivy's been missing for a lot of these games, so I don't really want to look at how Detroit has been the past few or whatever, because if you got to rely on Killian Hayes and some of these other guys we don't even really know, I don't want to put too much into it. But I went to that Pistons game not too long ago, and I saw Ivy in that pick and roll with whether it was Wiseman or Bagley. I know Bagley's out today, but he's going to be running that pick and roll with Wiseman all game. And Joker is not a good pick and roll defender. We've seen this the past couple of years. He's a slower kind of guy, and they can take advantage of him in those kind of situations. So I think, ways you have to go in this game. I like Ivy over his 5.5 assists. I know it's hit the last 3 games. Off that pick and roll, he's going to be dishing it to Wiseman. right? So I like that. I also like Wiseman over his 8.5 rebounds. I know that's cashed 8 of his last 11 games. He's averaging 9 since he joined the Pistons, and this is also hit. I want to say the last 4 games for them. And I like both of these players. Um, I like both of these players on a double double. You get Ivy plus 1,200 for his double double. He's had one 2 of his last 3 games, and I mean, if he's not contributing like that in this one, Detroit very likely to get blown out. Wiseman, I like his double double as well. That has hit 3 of the last 4 games, and you're getting plus 195 to take him. This is a Denver team who's the worst defensive rated team in the league the last 5 games. They're also a bottom 10 rebounding team in that same span. They're probably a little complacent right now. You know, we have the number 1 seed in the West. We're all right. We just want to stay healthy, et cetera, et cetera. So I like those 2 guys for Detroit. Double double for both. Assists for Ivy, rebounds for Wiseman. And I also like the over in the game. If I'm thinking Detroit is going to be able to score here, I definitely think Denver is going to be able to respond. It's probably not going to be the highest tempo game, but the defense is going to be lacking. So over 228.5 was the way I chose to go as far as the total, along with the props. How do you feel about this game? And really quick, Aaron Garza, he says any college basketball early plays y'all like, hit the rewind button a little bit. We talked about some college. If you have a question about a specific game after that, any games we didn't talk about, we'll try to do our best to answer them at the end of the NBA. How do you feel about this one, Denver and Detroit, Rob?
All right, I'm going to go quick because I played here, but I played Denver first quarter. Yes, they're probably a little bit complacent. What is it now? 4 consecutive losses. At some point, the team has to wake up. They gave up 49 points in the first quarter to Toronto the other night. Oh, goodness, Anthony Thornhill. No, I promise I won't. I promise I won't. Oh, man. All right, so yeah, first quarter. They gave a 49 to Toronto the other night. That's got to change. You can't get out to that type of start. And Detroit's been a bad first quarter team. Go back and check them out. 4-11 against the spread. Last 15 first quarters at home. 9 of the 11 losses were by 7 or more. Here we have to lay 5. I'm going to take the shot that Denver responds here at least early with their starting unit on the floor. And gets off to a pretty decent lead. What happens the remainder of the way? I can't disagree with the total going over because I do think both of these teams can score. And Ski, to your point about Jaden Ivey running pick and roll with Wiseman and maybe not Bagley, but even when Jalen Duren's in the game, he can run it with Duren, right? This team's loaded with big men. So that could probably exist all game long when he's on the floor. He is coming back for the first time in, I think, a couple of games maybe. But I'm on first quarter Denver. And again, I won't talk anybody off of full game over here with this one because I do think Detroit's really easy to score on at this point in time. And, you know, Denver is as well. He described the ways he can do it on them.
Absolutely. I can't talk you off of Denver early. A couple guys in the chat also liking Denver first quarter. I saw somebody also like the first half. They're saying, watch it, Rob. It's a family show.
Boy, I tell you what, that thing the other day, it got some type of response, boy. Oh, Valerie, no.
Getting Valerie maybe a little too excited. She said, wait, what?
Yeah, no. You got to go back to Jay Money's show Monday when I was on and replay that. You'll get the idea what we're talking.
You know, the chat gets a little crazy over here, Rob. So we enjoy it, though. It's always good to have fun when we do this and try to make some money. And I'm always here for a good laugh. Darren Turner says, if Jaden Ivey is cold, it's going to be a nightmare for the Pistons.
He's right.
Absolutely. If he's not doing anything, take that minus 15 is going to cash. That's how I feel. So we'll keep it going here. I think it was Saturated. Might have been somebody else. They asked about the Sacramento and Brooklyn game under. So we'll get to that one next. But before that, looks like we have another question from Saturated. Says, my question about both the Nuggets and Bucks games is, can we fade Jokic and Giannis? Seems like they don't get their numbers when they play scrubs. Well, I feel like I don't want to just do that because I feel like Jokic is trying to average a triple-double for the remainder of the year, and he's still up for the MVP race. So I don't necessarily want to just fade Jokic. Any answer from you there on this question, Rob?
I would say of the two and the way they're priced, from what I've seen of Jokic, there's nights where he just chooses not to shoot ski and be more of a facilitator. Now, he still gets his triple-double, but it just doesn't total as high, right? Because there's nights where he only takes 8 shots and gets 11 assists. So depending on what kind of mood he's in, pass or score, and it's hard to tell. It's hard to guess that. So I wouldn't be anywhere with him. I got lucky the other day because I thought he'd have a bounce back. His PRA totaled like 67 the other day. He just went wild. But he's in and out on a night-to-night basis. So Giannis, on the other hand, when he plays, he comes to play. So I hate to fade him in any instance.
I agree with you 100%. Not a guy that I want to be fading for sure. Appreciate you. Says he found me on J Money Show. Love the pick ski. Appreciate you for tapping in. Hopefully we can provide some winners here. Let's keep going. Sacramento and Brooklyn 503, 504. Open 237.5. We're looking at 238 as the consensus number. Open Nets -2.5. Still -2.5 across the board. Injury report for both of these teams. Rashawn Holmes, game time decision for Sacramento. I wouldn't be surprised if anybody else pops up on there tonight after just playing last night. For Brooklyn, everybody except for Ben Simmons will be available. And I just feel like Brooklyn has been playing really solid basketball lately. Not that the Kings haven't, but the rest advantage, being at home, Brooklyn being a better defensive team, I just feel like I would prefer them, even though they're a slight favorite here. And on the total, like I said a little bit earlier, I would expect some guys to probably be ruled out for Sacramento, and that would make me think less points. So a lean to the under. I don't love that, neither team is really good defending the 3 on the season. Both teams are pretty good shooting it. I would lean Brooklyn, lean under. I guess if I have to play a player prop, I know Mikal Bridges has been really consistent. I would go his route. And that's the only ways I can think to play this game. Any other ways for you, Rob?
I like the Brooklyn side. Again, the one thing you worry about with the Nets ski and why I can't go really crazy with them is they're back home after a long road trip, right? And we say it every single time. First game home after a long road trip. We don't want to be on the home team. However, Sacramento's on this back-to-back where it was stressful last night, right? De'Aaron Fox hits a one at the end of the game to a 3 to win it. They all played hard minutes. Now they get on a plane, come to Brooklyn. Brooklyn does have legs, pretty fresh legs. I know that we talked a little bit about Jacques Vaughn picking up their tempo as a team. And I could see them running here tonight. Maybe Sacramento has legs early. I don't know if they'll have legs late. So for that reason, I kind of like Brooklyn. But again, what stops me from going heavier on this game is the fact that Brooklyn's back home off of an extended road trip. I do think they're the right side. I do think they match up really, really well with Sacramento. The fact that Brooklyn doesn't have a lot of rim protection, right, with only Nick Claxton back there. Sabonis isn't necessarily a beast in the middle, more of a stretch 4 playing center than he is. And he had a big night last night, another triple-double on his part. I think Brooklyn's probably the right side here.
All right, and we both agree on that. Boofer says he might run it back with Brooklyn in the first half, Sacramento second half. Some guys in the – I think I just messed up this comment section on my screen. But they're liking Mikal points. They're liking the Nets. One thing I have to say is, Rob, you don't have to, but everybody in the chat, try to help me out a little bit. I'm new to this. I'm doing a little bit of the producer stuff. I had the March Madness sign up there for too long. We were just talking about the Denver and Detroit game pretty extensively. So if you just tapped in and you were looking for thoughts on Denver and Detroit, we did talk about it for like the last 5 minutes, and I will repeat that when we start the next game because I know some people will just come on here and search for the buy banner for the games that they want, and that's the reason I put it up there. So I want to try to do it correctly. I will get in the habit of putting them up there as we go along. Relly B says Fox 1.5 threes is a good one too.
Probably.
And Saturated says Fox broke the Bulls fans' heart last night. Yeah, mine too, because I had a Bulls ticket. I didn't like that. That was the difference in a winning and losing day for me. Corday says Pistons at +15. Should I play it? We just talked about that game. Like I just mentioned, if you want to hear about it, just hit the rewind button in about 10 minutes. You'll get a good segment on it. And Chris Clark, remind everybody, hit that like button if you like what you're hearing. I would appreciate it. It does help us out. So, talked about the first couple games here. Let's keep it going, Rob. Anything else that we missed? Are you good to go?
Nope. Let's move it on.
Okay.
I know you like this one.
I definitely do. 505, 506. OKC heading into Toronto. Opened up Toronto -6. We're now looking at them as a 6.5 point favorite. Total open 231.5. And consensus number right now is 231. There's a 230.5 at circa if you do want to play an over in this game. Injury report. Pokasevsky continues to be out for OKC. Looks like Banton is out for the Toronto side. And it's a couple of different things for me to like here, Rob. So, number one, I have to go to, and it didn't hit last game. I mean, he was lighting it up. Last game. That's Fred VanVleet. He must have hit like 8 threes versus that Denver team who's playing absolutely no defense. That's the difference. You have a Denver team we just talked about who's the worst defensive rated team in the league the last 5 games. Not the same case here. OKC is number 1 defensive rated team, and that might spell trouble for Fred VanVleet, who his point prop is 20.5. He stayed under 8 of the last 12 games. He only averages 19.4, so you're asking him to get a little bit more than his average, and he's played OKC 10 times. He averages 13.1 points per game versus them. He's only cleared the 20.5, 8 of the 10 games that he's played against them. So I like him to stay under 20.5. And also, the refs haven't forgotten. We're not going to be so generous with this whistle giving you every single foul call after you dogged our brother over there the other night and Ben Taylor. So I like that play to start. And I also have to, why are we laying points here with the Raptors? That's just how I feel. This is an OKC team who's, they're fighting just like the Raptors are fighting, right? They're in the play-in situation. They can still make it into the playoffs. They've been the hotter team, right? They've won 6 out of their last 7 games and covered 6 out of 7 the last 2 weeks, whereas Toronto, only 2-4 straight up. You have SGA in the lineup. I know they've won 8 of their last 12 games with him. Only one of those losses was by more than 6. I just feel like this is too many points to give an OKC team that's playing really good basketball right now, who's playing the best defense in the league last 5 games, and is also, rebounding the basketball better. I think about the Raptors. I think the reason why they're not having so much success is because they're bottom 5 shooting the 3. They're bottom 5 defending the 3. It's an easy way to get blown out, easy way to lose some games. So I like OKC plus the 6.5 points to go along with Fred VanVleet under his 20.5 points. Do you agree? Or how do you feel about this one, Rob?
Well, I know this. In watching that game the other night, Fred VanVleet got called for an offensive foul. And at the TV timeout, he went right over to the ref who called it, put his arm around him, and tried to make nice with the ref. So he's trying his best to get on their good side again, and it looked like a pretty amicable conversation between the two. But I did happen to notice that he's trying to make friends back, Fred VanVleet. Yeah. So we'll see.
He's like, I messed up.
Yeah, because he didn't like the call at the time, and he might have been right. I was watching the game. It didn't look like a offensive foul, really, but he got whistled for it, and he went over to see if he can get a happy explanation. Where the game is concerned, Ski, I've been repetitive about this, and it's only worked 50% of the time, so it's not like I'm spouting off anything that's helping me in my bankroll, but that was the 8th consecutive game where the Raptors allowed 50% shooting or better from the field. I just don't know how they're getting away with it, holding teams to lower point totals. Now, the first thing I looked at was Oklahoma City team total over 112.5. And as I went back over these 8 games where Toronto's allowing teams to shoot incredibly well from the field, 4 of those went over 112.5. 4 of them stayed under, including the other night when Denver only scored 110, despite the fact that they shot 55.3% from the field. SGA does a lot of scoring from 2-point range in the free throw line, which is a little bit different than some of these other teams do. And when I went through the 8 games, it's kind of a seesaw. Over 112.5, under 112.5, allowed by Toronto. Over, under. If you're just playing the seesaw game, you're going to be on over 112.5 here. I don't know that it's worth the risk for everybody listening. I'm halfway dumb when it comes to banging my head into a brick wall. I'll probably try it here. So if you want to come along and face the brick wall with me, you would be on Oklahoma City over 112.5. But I think better than that is taking the 6.5. You mentioned it. I don't see why you wouldn't be on this team. The one prop I could point out here is Jakob Poeltl, a big guy against a team that doesn't have a lot of rim protection. When you just mentioned OKC's rebounding numbers being really, really good lately, it's a tribute to that team, Ski, because they don't have that type of size. There's just no way they have the size that Toronto has. So maybe I would look for Poeltl rebounds here. As far as a prop goes, he's been really good for Toronto. But where game is concerned, I think the way I would look is Oklahoma City plus the points, and I would probably look at Oklahoma City team total up and over 112.5.
All right, so we agree here. We both are looking toward the OKC Thunder, and somebody said to me, they said, you hate Fred VanVleet. You can call me a hater if you want. I'm going to keep betting that prop under until it, goes over twice in a row. So we'll see how it shakes out tonight. Akbar says, and this is a good point too, SGA going back home to put on a show. Absolutely. It makes me think of my good friend Bobano. I feel like he always is excited to see SGA and is always talking about, he's from up here, he's from the north. So I think he does go back home and put on a show. All right, good job on that game. We will move it along. And let me remember to put the banners. I've been slow with the banners today, so bear with me. Next game is going to be 507, 508. That is Indiana and Milwaukee. This one opened up Milwaukee minus 13. We see them now 12.5-point favorite. Total open 235, and it's up as high as 238.5. Injury report for the Bucks. Drake Crowder is game time. Goran Dragic is game time. Brook Lopez, game time. They will be without Grayson Allen, and they'll be without, I don't even know how to say his name. Thanasis is Giannis's brother. They'll be without Giannis's brother tonight. For Indiana, Hallie is going to be game time. Buddy Hield is game time. TJ McConnell game time. Miles Turner game time. They'll be without Chris Duarte and Ben Mathurin. So I don't really have that strong of an opinion here, Rob. I really don't want to waste anybody's time. So I'm gonna kick it to you. If you have a strong opinion here, let the people know.
No, it didn't play, Ski, basically based on the injury list that we all know Indiana has going tonight. You just can't play Indiana without all those guys. I know a couple are game time, but I guess we can wait around till game time to decide. If I was going to, the one thing I did look at was maybe this first half total going over if we get the right players in the game. Afraid to play full game overs simply because if Milwaukee's in blowout situation and we already see guys reported on the injury list, I'm sure that Budenholzer would pull guys to the bench in the fourth. So the only way I could look, if I could look at all, would be first half over, and Indiana's got to have some guys in the game. Otherwise, just pass this one off. You're muted, dude.
That's my bad there. But I'll just say, I guarantee you guys, I will not have a cent on Indiana and Milwaukee tonight. So we can keep moving right over that game. It'll be 509, 510, Orlando and Phoenix. And really quick before I move there, Chris Clark says, Drew, rebounds plus assists, has been cashing over 11.5. Boofer. Boofer's a sarcasm king in here. He says, no Thanasis, fades Bucks. Let's keep it going here to the last game on the NBA slate tonight. This is 509, 510, Orlando and Phoenix. It opened Phoenix as a 7-point favorite. They're now up to -8. Total open 228.5. Hasn't really moved. Injury report. I see Gary Harris, game time decision, but he's very likely to play tonight. Then on the flip side, we have Torrey Craig, game time decision for Phoenix, but also likely to play. They will continue to be without Kevin Durant and Landry Shamet. I'll just keep this one very simple, and I'll rock with it the way that our good friend Ralph Michaels did. You look at both of these teams the last 2 weeks, they're combined 10-2 to the over. I'm looking at Orlando's games. They're making it to about close to 244. So I look at that. Both teams are bottom 10 defensive rated teams the last 5 games. Both teams top 10 in pace in the same span. I think it's a situation where, neither team will mind pace and they can get it up and over the total. So just a lean for me over the 228 and a half. Would you agree, Rob?
I would. It's surprising to see both of these teams go quick too, because they didn't go quick all year long. And now, but you would expect Phoenix, and especially when Durant returns, that's more likely their best style of play would be to get up and down. So maybe that's what they're prepping for right now. I kind of like the Phoenix side from a first half perspective, maybe from a full game perspective as well. I've been a guy who's liked Orlando and their competitiveness all season long, but they've dropped out of the race, Ski. They're not going to get even into a play-in spot anymore. They're 4 games out of a play-in spot with, around 15 left to play. It's not going to happen for them. And I think they let go of the rope a little bit here in this contest. And Phoenix needs a win. Phoenix, I think, back-to-back bad losses, capped off by the one against Milwaukee the other night. So I think Phoenix at home probably comes out with a little bit of determination, motivation, whatever factor you want to use there, meaning that they'll play hard. And they're only 4.5-point choice in the first half. The problem with them is they haven't been quick starters all year long. And so you're kind of betting into a bad trend with that. But I think I'm betting more situation and current status of these teams than I am into the trend. So I think I like Phoenix a little bit first half. If you prefer a full game, I wouldn't talk you off that either. I just think Phoenix probably the right side here.
Okay. Rob likes some first half. Chris Clark like an Aiden over 16.5 points. Anthony agreeing says he likes Aiden over on his points as well. Patrick, I appreciate you keeping me on track. It's hard, man. It's a lot to do in these shows, man. You got to, when you're the producer and you're on the show, I see why they have different people to do the job. So doing the best I can. And I appreciate you guys for helping me stay on track. I'll get better, I promise, as we keep doing it and keep doing these shows. So that's the full NBA slate there, Rob. Didn't see any more college questions. Maybe we touched enough college in the beginning of the show. Von Avery says lots of props in here. He's liking Banchero over 19.5. Wendell Carter Jr. double-double plus 150. CP3 double-double plus 120. And I feel like CP3 double-double has been pretty consistent lately, especially since KD has gone down. So some good looks there from Vaughn. Appreciate you sharing that. Boofer says Phoenix second half look tonight. He's always keeping up with those quarters and half stats, so appreciate that as well. Let's see, any more comments? Patrick, he says, you're doing great, Scree. Love the upgrades. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Sheldon has one last question for you here, Rob. Charleston or San Diego State? I see this one open. San Diego State minus 4.5. Now 5.5-point favorite. Total open 141.5. Now 142. I pay a little bit of attention to Mountain West. I feel like you can correct me if I'm wrong because I clearly don't watch as much as you. But San Diego State, they've been either playing a little bit faster or playing less defense because in previous years, weren't they more of an under, more slower defensive team? Now I'm seeing higher totals here. Maybe can College of Charleston play any defense? Do they play with pace? I guess that would be my question. How do you think about this game between San Diego and Charleston?
All right, so I think I want to credit Sheldon solely, but I'll say Sheldon in the chat room because I'm not sure but these guys picked every single game I played for clients today. So there's going to be no mystery when you go to wagertalk.com. You guys are going to hear all my plays right here if you tuned in. So another benefit to tuning into Ski's shows. I played San Diego State first half, only laying 2.5. I'll say this. I was unimpressed. Charleston's a 30-win team, Ski. 30 wins this year in a lesser conference, of course, Colonial Athletic Association. But I wasn't that impressed with them over their tourney victory. And for San Diego State, to your point, they do have athletes where Brian Dutcher, the head coach, lets them go a little bit now if they're playing against a tempo team. Now, in Mountain West, when you play New Mexico, you can't help but get into high-scoring battles because that's the way they're going to force you to play. But there's, San Diego State has reverted right back to all defense. You just look at the Mountain West Conference final, the championship game, they played Utah State, a very good offensive team, and I think they held Utah State below 60 points with overtime. So they're hard to gauge from a totals perspective. But they will be playing an extremely fast team here. I think they might run a little bit. Charleston's veteran, but San Diego State's just better. In my estimation, San Diego State's just better. This is a team that I feel could make a Sweet 16 run, maybe deeper if things break right for them, because they do have all aspects covered. They've got good play in the pivot. They've got good guard play. Again, they can crank it up on defense, much the same as teams like nobody's Houston, but they're in that next level down, 1A, let's call it. So I'm on San Diego State first half -2.5. I don't think Charleston has seen a defense like this one. And I think when San Diego State gets out quick in tempo situations in the first half against Charleston, they can score. So that's where I'm at with that. I wouldn't talk you off full game, but I played San Diego State first half.
Good information there again from Rob. San Diego State first half, and he told you it's for real in his pocket. It's a real real play right there. Yeah, it's some more questions though, and I'm gonna go ahead and group these together because maybe we won't get to them all, but maybe one of these games you might have a strong opinion about and you can help them out a little bit. And if you don't, it's okay too because we talked about a good amount of games today. Chris Clark asked, "What about the Boise and Northwestern total?" And that one opened 129. It's about 128 right now. And the other question is, any thoughts on Iowa versus Auburn? Either of those games catch your interest, Rob?
Well, real quick, Iowa-Auburn, again, I was on the verge of playing that game over, and I still could. So I will say that I'm talking from that perspective, Iowa-Auburn over 51. It's interesting that game, I think, is played in Birmingham, which would make Auburn the semi-home team. They should have a lot of fans there. And Bruce Pearl, we know he's a tempo guy. Now, this year he doesn't have three-point shooters on his squad, but Iowa's going to force you to run or take quick shots because that's what they do. Iowa's got to hit threes for this game to get over. They're one of the most efficient offenses. Ski, one of those oh goodness, what's the website called that we're always Shot Quality, right? Shot Quality will tell you that Iowa gets really good shots every time down. And even against Auburn's good defense, I think they will. So I'm kind of looking at over 151 there. We'll see what I end up doing. Last, goodness gracious, I forget the other one that they asked, and I had a small thought on it. What was the other game, Ski? Oh, Boise Northwestern total. There you go. I think the only way you can look at it is under. But I thought that again, we're not betting totally on matchups. We're betting on numbers here. And if this game had made it to like 131.5, 132, I would be on under. I'm not. Northwestern, very guard oriented, and they've got great guards. I mean, when you think of Northwestern, you don't necessarily think of skillful basketball players, but their guards are really good. Audige and Bubui. Mountain West team, Boise State, good 1 through 5 starting units. So I think it'll be a great game. But I could only look at it from an under perspective, and I just thought that they opened the total a little bit too low, and it's since been bet down, so it's hard for me to get on it.
Fair enough. There was another, and also Razor says Ski got a graphics guy. Shout out to Boofer. He's been helping me out with a lot of this stuff. Sending me, a lot of the graphic stuff. I got to give credit to him, and also UCapper's been helping me with some other upgrades.
Oh, come on, Boofer.
For the show. You know where he's going. You know what?
I told Jay Money I'm done with that phrase because guys take it the wrong way.
You got to throw a little jab every now and then.
They want to dive into my private life, Ski. What the heck, man?
Rob said it's private, man. All right. Akbar, let's see what he says. Alabama fans said they're going to go there and root against Auburn.
I don't doubt that. Vice versa, too.
Yep. AOD, shout out now. Razor in the house. Razor's liking that Iowa plus 1.5. And I think we got through the majority of these comments. We talked, majority of the games. So now it's that time of the show, Rob, where I ask you if there's anything that you would like to promote, and if also out of everything that we talked about, is there maybe a play, maybe more than one play that you like more than the rest?
All right, so let's move on to promotion here real quick. I will say this, these college basketball games this weekend, Thursday through Sunday, are going to come fast and furious. And where I'm concerned, selections will be updated. They could be updated at any hour. So please check back early and often. If you're interested in selection packages, wagertalk.com is the place to go for my work. College basketball season has been tremendous for me. I'm not one to pat myself on the back or look for attention. But college basketball has been real good, up 66 units on the season. So you can get it at wagertalk.com. If you're interested in analysis of all sports, like you see here on Ski shows, then go to wagertalk.com. NHL, Major League Baseball up and coming. The XFL, well, I don't think they do XFL over there, but I certainly do have plays on it. And the NBA and college hoops, all that stuff. Drop your email address. You'll get access to it all for free at wagertalk.com. Plays are concerned, Ski. We talked about a bunch of them, but I'll go to the college ranks and say that I think the one I like the best, and I've released them. Let me say this. I released them to clients all evenly. So when I say the best, that doesn't mean I like it 50 times more than the others, but I'll leave you with Texas. The Texas game over the total in the first half against Oral Roberts. Or no, they don't. Am I getting these all messed up now? Hang on.
I think so. Yeah, Texas plays Colgate.
It's Colgate, yeah. Texas Colgate over. I discussed all the reasons earlier, Ski. Colgate, I think will catch Texas by a little bit by surprise. They shoot 51% from the field on the season. It's a really good offensive team, and they shoot threes. Texas may, wise up to it in the second half. But I think shots will fall for Colgate early. Texas can score as well. Texas is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. And I could see them making a pretty deep run here. So give me Texas Colgate. I think the number was 71. We looked this up already. Over 71 first half, Texas Colgate.
Yep. Best number you can get right now is that 71 Colgate Texas first half over. And just like Rob, everything is up and available at wagertalk.com. I'm going to share my player props just because that's what I feel like I like the most today. There's 3 of them. I mean, I can tell you the ones to sprinkle on too, but the best bets, we're going Fred VanVleet under 20.5 points. We're going Ivy over 5.5 assists. We're going Wiseman over 8.5 rebounds. And I talked about all of these extensively earlier in the show. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit on Ivy double-double plus 1,200, Wiseman double-double plus 195. So best bets for Rob and myself. Like I always say, this show is nothing without the chat. We appreciate everything you guys bring to the table. A lot of good information out there. We know you guys can provide some winners too, and we always appreciate the support. So we will be doing this show again tomorrow, and just want to wish you guys best of luck on all your action. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and we will catch you guys then.